a VOD from yesterday that's incriminating towards Da Vinci. Didn't she just whispered me? Nice VOD. Didn't she?
Okay, we're live.
Okay. So, everyone, welcome to sittingonacouch.com, the podcast. This is Revealed, your weekly Thief podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Valadier, and joining me we have Jumper. Jumper, say hi.
Hello.
And joining us today we also have Caed.
Hello.
And let's get started. Caed, who are you and what are you doing?
I'm a thief. I play on Anvil Rock in A servers, and I do a lot of SPVP. I play for SOEC Gaming.
Oh, that's nice. So what's you're playing the thief, and what brought you to the thief? Like let's have the main reasons. What's so awesome about the thief?
I like playing a lot of classes with mobility and kind of like being an asshole for other people. I like pissing people off when it comes to games. So thieves and Mesmer are really annoying, and I never got really I didn't really like the playstyle of Mesmers compared to thieves. So I find thieves a lot of fun to play. The mobility and the damage, and I like playing glass cannons.
Okay.
What do you see the thief brings that Sword-dagger alley doesn't?
The mobility. Thief can jump around the map a lot faster, and they can get more ganks off compared to a Sword-dagger alley, especially after the Rise Lightning changes.
Yeah, the lightning ride changes for awful. I don't know where they came up with that. I mean, just the range reduction was enough, but then they had to double the cooldown. It's oh man, the range was enough, man.
Well, at least bring a lot to team fights, but their mobility got cut in half literally with the change.
Yeah, I get that. I don't get that for structured PvP, but for World vs. World, it's really nice actually being able to catch up with them and gank them. So that's good. But yeah, you're playing structured PvP, and there's people like me out there who's only level 13 or something like that at least, and we don't really know much about it. So what can you tell us about structured PvP? What does the thief bring, and how is it played?
Right now there's two builds. One is burst and dagger pistol, and pretty much your job is to roam around ganking priority targets so that your team can stomp them as quickly as possible and kind of snowball into a fight and push over and push out the other team so you can capture the node. And the other one is Sword-dagger, and your job is to pretty much sit on a target and annoy them until they die. And you do a pretty good job because you take all of their protection and all their boons, and then makes them really vulnerable to the rest of your team. And it keeps them out of a fight.
That's the Sword-dagger build you're using, right, Jumper?
Yeah.
That last one. Yeah, okay. So you're saying priority targets. What is
priority targets are things that are do really heavy AoE usually, or really high spike damage. Classes like Necros, Thieves, HGH Indies, things that if you leave them alone, they're going to put a lot of pressure on your team and kind of just rip your team apart.
So it's like in other games like League of Legends or Heroes of Newerth, where you go for the carry, essentially? You go for the damage dealer?
Yeah, either AP or AD carry.
As a Sword-dagger, you're pretty much a bruiser in a MOBA. You go on the AD carry, and you pretty much, anytime you're attacking him, he's not attacking anyone else, so that really benefits your team.
Okay. So when you're planning to set up a team in tournament play, you're 5 people, right?
Yeah.
And so what do you need to make a team? One thief who's taking out priority targets. What else do I make? Who's your teammates?
For our team right now, we have 2 Ellies, a Guardian and a Necro, and then myself. And one of the Ellies sits on home node, and they watch over home node. They'll push into a team fight, but pretty much what we're doing with that is we have a really strong 1v1 class on our back node, so that if someone pushes there, they can last a long time and keep the node in our favor. And then with the Necro, we have a lot of AoE, cleave damage. He's running a well build right now. So say if we get down a
So it's
target,
not running
drop.
epidemic.
Yes, he'll drop a well on a down body, and it does a lot of damage. It'll pretty much anyone trying to res that body is going to take a lot of pressure. And the thief will sit on someone else, and we have a scepter dagger Ellie for bursts on the priority target. So what I do is I sit on a different target than the scepter dagger Ellie, and I keep him out of the fight while the rest of the team focuses a different primary target.
Okay, so you have like one guy on the team is playing, I guess, a bunker, playing on the home node, and you have 4 people running in a team for like the mid node, or what's that?
So we have the guardian on mid for bunkering, and on home node the Ellie is dagger triple cantrips. So it's kind of tanky, like a lot of sustain, good amount of damage, and. The bunker in mid is Guardian. He'll clear condies. He takes a lot of damage. He's good at rezzing and stomping people. He gives stability. And then the Necro, the Ellie, and the Thief do the big damage to take targets down.
Okay. Now you're saying priority targets, and I figure the other group of people, your opponents, have the same kind of system. They probably have a thief as well, going for priority targets. What do you watch out for then? How do you try to counter other thieves doing the same thing, taking down the important targets?
So it depends on your build. If I was playing dagger pistol, I would watch for another thief, and my job would be to kill that thief and kind of zone him out of the fight so that he can't get on our targets. But as Sword-dagger, I'm kind of leaving that to our Ellie to peel for our Necro, because generally that thief is going to go for the Necro because he's would be their priority target. He does the most AoE damage. He brings down their team. So what we do is we have the Ellie sit there, they heal for the Necro, they CC the thief, they peel for him, and then other people CC and focus that thief down before he can get out.
Do you feel like it's a huge disadvantage not running very many condies on your team? I mean, you're not like running a mesmer to mow the guardian and get the guardian out of the fight. So like, there's no pressure going out on the guardian. Or do you feel Sword-dagger just handles the guardian well enough?
Sword-dagger along with the wells and corrupt boon do a lot of like it puts a lot of pressure on a team. Yeah, it leaves them really vulnerable to burst damage. So both Sword-dagger and the wells and corrupt boon at the same time, all of that combined.
Okay. Yeah, you said before there was essentially 2 builds right now. The dagger pistol and the Sword-dagger. How come there's no like condition damage builds? How come there's no pistol builds?
So like pistol has no mobility really, and you spend a lot of your initiative kind of whittling a target down to 3. And after that, like say you use haste, because generally that's what you'd run with pistol. You have no endurance, you have no escapes on your weapon sets, you're kind of just a sitting duck. It's really vulnerable, and it's really easy to like deal with, because you can run projectile reflect, or you can dodge most of it, and the thief wastes all their initiative on that 3. For condies, I'd say because there's only one condition mainly. Like you have a lot of bleeds, and it's a lot of reapplication, but it's really easy to move, and it's really easy to avoid and kite a bleed thief.
Right, and you can make more conditions, or I mean, there's bleeds and there's poison, and you can have vulnerability and weakness
but
as well.
Bleeds and poison are the only ones that do damage, so it doesn't put out enough pressure to kind of kill someone, especially in a team fight with someone clearing conditions like a guardian or an Ellie.
Okay. For the pistol, let's come back to that one, because I know you have some feelings towards that one, Jumper.
Hey man, it deals as much damage as an illusionary duelist. So I feel the damage is in a good spot. Just kidding.
So I was watching your stream, Jumper, and essentially your auto attacks with the short bow deals more damage than you can actually do with the pistol, like in total, even if you're like spamming.
Yeah, and they don't. It doesn't cost initiative either. I
So
can
it's
see that for
it's more damage and it's
yeah.
free essentially. So for structured PvP, what would you like to see changed about the pistol to make that viable?
I think there needs to be a lot of changes because none of the weapon skills, like the auto attack's really lackluster. It doesn't do anything. You spend too much on the 2 skill to make them vulnerable, or is that the 4?
I think it's
two
two skill,
body
body
shot.
shot. Body
It's
shot.
the 2. Okay. See, I haven't even played pistol.
I understand why. I understand why.
So you spend a lot of initiative to just make them vulnerable for such a short amount of time. And like that, no one uses that skill. No one uses a mode because its damage is pretty pathetic and it costs so much initiative and you're left with nothing. And like just the weapon set as a whole, headshot's really strong, blinding powder is really strong, but the first 3 skills on pistol as a main hand is not very strong
I
at
feel
all.
they don't synergize whatsoever. Like if you take take a kit like a dagger pistol, the set synergizes like crazy good. Like it synergizes so well. You use every single ability in that set. Like depending on the situation,
Yeah.
it's such a well balanced set. But if you look at pistol, three three three
You
three
use
three
one
three,
button.
and then if you headshot, you probably won't have enough initiative for headshot because you're spending all of your initiative trying to do mediocre damage. Auto attack does like no damage.
Oh, it does like 500 damage. That's something, right?
And then
500
on
Anyone?
top
damage
of
and a
that,
small
like the
bleed.
auto attack is so slow. You hit them at like once every second.
Yeah, it's
And
really slow.
it's
I like to see like a ranger short bow pre-nerf. Pew 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 pew. Attack like 3 times per second.
maybe if you
Rangers
like
don't realize how good they had it.
maybe they could make it so like if you're using pistol, you'd attack with both weapons with auto attack instead of one.
That would look awesome as well. I mean, it looks so ridiculous. You're just standing there with the one pistol, but the other one is just I'm
I'm
getting it
just
ready,
keeping it
saving
handy.
it,
Yeah.
saving it for the unload.
How do you
It's
feel
cowboy shooter.
about the smoke field projectile finishers? Because
Oh,
I think
that's blind, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
blindness on a 20% chance on most of the projectiles.
Yeah, it really leaves it to a bunch of RNG, and like the smoke field itself costs a lot of initiative. So you're sitting there with a slow attack speed unless you're unloading, and at that point you just run out of initiative so quickly. It doesn't do very much for you.
What if they made like the auto attack with pistol a 100% projectile finisher? So you could combine it with like your fire fields and something, or make some kind of condition build out of it. Would that be something? Or
I think it would be interesting, but you still wouldn't see a lot of play out of pistol because of the mobility issues I mentioned earlier. Like it's really hard to get out of a sticky situation with double pistols.
yeah, so it needs some kind of rework that would either
Disengage.
give them some kind of mobility, some
Well, I mean, you can
disengage,
always
or
use short bow on your offset.
But you spend so much initiative spamming 3 on pistol, and you switch to short bow, you can't spam 3 anymore. You're stuck
that's
in the
true. That's true.
waters.
Does every build in instructed PvP right now use the short bow? No, your sword-dagger one doesn't. That's just sword-dagger, sword-dagger.
I feel like if you run short bow with Sword-dagger, you're letting off a lot of pressure
There's no
because
reason
you
to
can't
use
sit
short
on
bow,
the
right?
you can't sit on the target, and once you switch weapon sets to short bow, all your pressure on that target is just gone.
Like I feel like the main use for the main reason people brought short bow with the dagger and the dagger pistol sets was to because they can't survive in melee range really.
Yeah.
Like in a team fight, you go in melee. If you melee at the wrong time, you melee like more than 5 seconds. You melee too much. You're just gonna drop to random AoE, and like short bow was literally like 90% of the fight for thieves. But with the
I think that's what
sword
makes
dagger is like totally different. It's new, it's fresh, and I love it.
Yeah,
I
you're
think that's
pretty,
what makes Sword-dagger so strong, is that you can sit in those AoEs, you can get in people's faces and like dive backlines with it and get out always with Sword 2.
yeah, you're pretty much sitting in the fight all the time instead of standing on the outside with the short bow going pew pew. Or, and of course having the shadow return ability, the circle somewhere they can't touch you, so you have an ability to get out. Okay, let's talk about the different weapon kits then. We mentioned dagger on the last podcast, and you Jumper said it was not viable anymore because of the reveal nerf, nerfing it to 4 seconds instead of 3 as before. What's your feelings toward that, Kate?
I'm the biggest advocate for dagger pistol, you'll
He was
find,
the
because
first
like,
one on NA to switch.
yeah. Yeah, like I just feel like dagger, like besides the fact that I find it boring, is so lackluster in comparison. Because the 4, like you won't use the 4, you'll never use the 3. Costs so much initiative, and cloak and dagger is like after the damage nerf, it's really unreliable. If you miss it, you lose all your initiative. You don't
Yeah.
get stealth, and you're just sitting there. So dagger pistol, like if you miss the burst, you pretty much like you're still guaranteed stealth. You still have some safety in the weapon set.
That's a random ninja coming in.
Yes. No. Anyway, so you lose a lot in my opinion when you run dagger because you use 2 abilities, 3 abilities out of the weapon set, and compared to dagger pistol where you use all 5, like it's really more versatile. It's more
Hey
adaptable.
man, I heard Death Blossom is good.
Ah,
I don't
it's
know.
Especially when you're running Zerkers.
I don't even want to get into Death Blossom.
What about the pistol dagger? I know that some thieves in World versus World still use it, called the Wild Bill builds, I think. Why doesn't it work really in structured PvP with the conditions?
In structured PvP,
Because
you
I
have a
knew
goal.
that it worked at one point, combining it with like caltrops or something.
In structured PvP, you kind of have a goal to get to. Like, you have to capture the nodes for your team. You have to get that. And dagger pistol, like when you're in stealth, or I mean pistol dagger, when you're in stealth, you can't cap a node, and that build is really attrition based. So its fights last a long time. It works on wearing down an opponent. Anyone with condition clears is going to get rid of your bleeds. They're going to live forever. And it makes it really hard for that to be effective when you have such a time crunch on capturing a node. And there's a lot of pressure on your team. Like, bringing a pistol dagger pretty much generally means you lose the game versus most good teams.
And how about that caltrops nerf a couple patches ago? 15
I don't
seconds to
understand.
10 seconds. Huge hit for the condition builds, which already needed tons of help.
Okay, so the main reason like the condition builds is not viable is because it takes too long to get any kind of damage in there, and because you're in stealth you can't capture nodes, and that's really what the game is all about.
Yeah.
So what's your feeling about the when you're in stealth, you can capture node, but stealth is sort of the thief trademark ability. I mean, it's our sort of special thing. Like we're the stealth class. What's your feeling about that? Is it supposed to be like that? Should we not be able to use stealth, or?
You can still use stealth, but I think you have to use it with a different kind of build, because if you use it with an attrition build, you're kind of just sitting in stealth the whole game. Half the game is you waiting to get your health back. And in World v World, you have all the time.
Yeah, you have all the
sit
time.
Forever. Yeah, you can sit forever, you can wait, you can get your health back, you can reset. But when you have to get that node, like, you can't sit in stealth. You can't have those high attrition builds unless you already have a node. And if it capped in stealth, I'd say that build would be overpowered because no one could see you and you'd be stealthing and capping nodes all over.
Yeah.
Because there already are specs that are attrition based, and those can sit on nodes and hold them. So it's just a better.
Well, I mean, you can actually like make a permanent evasion without stealth caltrops build, running acrobats instead of shadow arts. It's still like very little damage, especially if they have Kami clear, and especially with the Caltrops nerf. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
I think that's the biggest thing, that like condition thieves isn't viable because they have one to two conditions. You see things like HGH, NG, and Necro, they have a wide spread of conditions and they do a lot more pressure because they have burning or poison and like all these other ones in combination with the bleeds.
What about like combining it with? I know there's a freeze on weapon swap, and there's a chance you can get fire on one of the sigils, right? What about combining it with that? Is that just stupid, or doesn't really work, or what?
I don't think it really works very well because it's such a short duration. You still don't have that pressure.
Okay, so if we want some condition builds to be viable again, we need some more conditions.
Yeah, variety.
Out there, and we need some movability and some kind of way to stay on the point.
Just take NG for example. They toss like 2 or 3 grenades, and you have every single condition in the game on you, and it's like impossible to clear all of that unless you're running like a Lissa or some type of like full clear. Shouts.
Or just like condition removal on stealth and pop a shadow refuge and wait there for like an hour.
But then you go back to that waiting game.
Yeah.
You want to talk about traits? There's a lot of trait balance changes coming up with the June changes, the patches coming up this month. So I think Shadow Arts and Trickery are in the most need of help, at least in Structured. Any suggestions, insight about that?
I think why you're seeing, like, not seeing as much of Shadow Arts and Trickery is because a lot of the, like, high damage modifiers are in these other, like, trees. Like, you have that 10% more damage. You have Executioner, which every thief pretty much takes for their build. And Acrobatics, you have Fluid Strikes, which is another 10% damage increase. Bleed Attacks and Trickery, like, you lose a lot of damage when you run low on initiative. And it feels like the traits, the Grand Master trait and the Master traits aren't really that impressive compared to these other trees like Critical Strikes, Acrobatics, and Deadly Arts. And Shadow Arts, I think, will not be that good in SPVP just because you go back to that stealth mechanic. Like, stealthing for long periods of time hurts your team because you're not doing anything during that.
Well, I remember back before the November nerfs, I used to actually run a Sword-dagger type of bruiser build. It was a dazed-based build. I actually used Tripwire. We'll come back to traps in a bit. And
yeah, we should talk about those.
But they somewhere along the line they broke the Mesmer runes and the paralyzation sigils, so that really hurt it. But also, what really hurt it was the daze duration on Tactical Strike reduced by half a second. So you couldn't chain it together with a tripwire or like do any of the cool stuff you used to. And what hurt it even further after that, a couple months later, like the build was already dead in the dust, and then they just come out of nowhere. Oh, hey guys, revealed. We're gonna make it 1 more second. So good luck trying to keep people dazed. So
you forgot about those dagger offhanders.
Yeah, that's why I was running it pre-November, and then November came around, and Dancing Dagger hit half of its damage gone, Cloak and Dagger, a third of its damage gone, and that was basically all the damage from the set, unless you counted Flanking Strike, which it was meh, like really hard to hit. But the Sword-dagger set in general, like, only has like 2 damage, the auto attack and the Flanking Strike. That's the only damage dealers, really. So, I mean, once you nerfed Dancing Dagger, there was like nothing left.
Yeah, rest in peace, Dancing Dagger. But But Kate, let's talk about your build. What is your build actually? There's two viable builds, but let's talk about the specific traits for a minute.
So right now I'm actually running Sword-dagger. So do you want me to go over that one, or do you want me
No,
to go
the
over
other one.
the dagger pistol? Okay.
So about jumper spec.
It's a little. I'm running Mug instead of Thrill for jumpers, but for my dagger pistol, I'm running 25 into Deadly Arts. I'm picking up Mug and Improvisation. And then,
improvisation for the thieves who can't remember all our specific traits. What does that do?
So improvisation. Let me look here really quick so I can read it. It says stealing recharges all types or all skills of one type: venom, signets, traps, tricks, or deceptions, and deal 10% more damage while wielding a bundle. So the bundle doesn't really affect you unless you have something like a fiery greatsword, which I will say is amazing. So that trait, what it does for you is if you steal and you get a recharge on something like Shadow Step or a Refuge, it can cause a team fight to like heavily go into your favor. If you refuge another, like if you refuge twice in a team fight versus once, you stop 2 stomps, you push over a team fight. And it's kind of RNG because there's a chance to get nothing. There's a chance you'll get another Bassi or another Signet.
If you run with like only poisons and you use that ability, will you be sure that it will clear poison, or is it just RNG basically?
It's RNG. You can still fall into the types that you don't have. So it's better to have a wider variety and get a recharge on some of your stuff than to run all into one set and not have a recharge for.
Okay, so
I still prefer backfighting. Backfighting's so strong. Win every single down battle, every downstate battle.
And downstating, the downstate, the backfighting. What did that do? Sorry for my English.
It does 50% more damage while down.
Okay. So that's around. Can we have some numbers for the thieves who don't really get downed?
Well, normally you'd be hitting for like 1k with your auto attack when in downstate, which it bounces and it does half damage on each bounce. So I mean, it'll be hitting. Well, normally I'd say it hits about like 1500, and then you increase that with backfighting. It's gonna be hitting for like over 2k per hit, and like 3k on other glass cannons. It's ridiculous, and the bounces hurt as well. So also the damage increase scales with air runes if you choose to run those, which not many thieves do for obvious reasons. If you're in stealth and you get hit, it will proc and it will unstealth you. It counts as an attack. It'll scale with those, and you can do insane amounts of damage while down with the air proc like that. Or you can run the air sigils or the fire sigil, and
those will still work.
Those increase in damage as well with backfighting, and they deal insane amounts of damage. Like I was running it backfighting in a downstate. I was in a 1v2. Okay. There's a thief. I had gotten to half health, and then I got ganked by an Ellie or something, and then I went down. I went down in my Shadow Refuge, I think, or something, and there's actually an unstealth attack when you're in downstate and stuff. It throws a dagger. It hits a lot harder, and it poisons. So,
that's a stealth attack when you're downed?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually didn't know that.
And yeah, I just hit that other thief for like a quarter of his total health, like half of his remaining health, and then just one more hit, my fire procced, and he just dropped in like 2 hits in my downstate. It's ridiculous the amount of damage backfighting does.
Yeah, I think backfighting's strong, but I preferred improvisation because you can get some clutch plays with it for a team fight, and I feel like if you die next to your teammate, you won't really have that many issues getting yourself back up.
Okay, so we learned 2 things, that improvisation can be sort of RNG, and that a jumper is making a new build focusing on being downed and one-shot and two-shotting thieves. Okay.
There's a similar thing to power or necros. Power necros have the same trait, pretty much,
Okay.
and is extremely strong, especially with their 3 ability. It casts this AoE, which, oh my god. I actually ran it once, and I actually went down. The enemy thief was at full health. He started stopping me. I feared him. I think I wasn't even running terror. So if I was running terror, that fear would have hit like so much harder. But I was just spamming on my 1 life leeching, and I cast my 3. He dropped from full health thief. I was in down state, full to 0, necro down state. Just same build basically.
Okay, that's pretty neat. Caed, you talked about you play some World versus World from time to time. What kind of build do you run for that?
I run the same burst build, 25, 30, 0, 0, 15.
Okay.
Full man mode.
Full man mode. So your man
have
mode
about,
is essentially get in, kill, get out.
1,200 health, yeah. You have about 1,200 health with food and no toughness whatsoever.
Okay, and that still works for you, the full burst, even with the mock
really
changes.
It's really fun. Like, I have a lot of fun with it because you find people running around, you go and you gank them, and you get out pretty quickly. Like, even in Zergs, you can pick people off and kind of hide in the back lines.
Okay, that's still possible with, like, full circle. And I figure you're full circle with 12k HP.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's classic burst build. Where do you feel like the thief is right now in World versus World? Like, do you want some changes, or is it viable, like, for the game mode?
For World v World, I'd say I'm more of a casual player in that aspect of the game because I kind of just I play that for more of a fun thing than competitively.
He doesn't even legitly go WW. He asked me the other day. It's like, oh hey Jumper, come WW with me. And then I come expecting
I ended up dueling people.
And we're sitting at the spawn and we're just dueling people. And I'm like, okay, this isn't WW. I can just go on a hot join and do this. I can go ask people to duel.
Hot joins are fun.
But like, okay, let's talk a bit about some dueling and some 1 versus 1. Because I know that's different. If you play World versus World and if you play structured PvP, like the dueling will be completely different. At least I hope it will. I hope that's what it's like, because every time I'm in structured PvP, I always lose, and it's not the case for World versus World. So you can get all this different gear. You don't have to run with runes, but you do in structured PvP. How do you feel like this? What's the thief in dueling right now in 1 versus 1s? World versus World, 1 versus 1s.
I usually kill people pretty fast, but I feel like it's a lot less forgiving because say if I'm running full Zerker, everyone else is gonna have pretty high damage still because of such stat inflation, and I'm so squishy that if I mess up, they can kill me pretty easily.
But if you've dueled them like once, shouldn't they pretty much see your burst coming and just press that favorite button of mine, the Dutch one?
You can bait out a lot of things with people. You can be pretty sneaky. So it's kind of a lot of mind games with Thief, I feel. Okay. You kind of make people think things are coming when they're not, and then catch them when they're off guard.
Okay. Do you have some questions, Jumper? Or should we get into some of the
let's do traits and utilities.
Yeah, sure.
So for the 25-30, I run
I meant like go over the like unused utilities in general.
Okay. Unused utilities? What? There's none of them. There's no unused utilities.
Like, how are traps right now?
Oh, that's so strong.
Traps are pathetic.
Okay.
They do nothing, and I feel like part of the reason is because the trap layout is so much different. Like compared to a ranger who has this wide AoE circle, you have this like small, tiny rectangular box that everyone manages to roll over without even knowing about it. And it's just like it's really
Hey,
frustrating.
that's why
And
you
you're
run.
like,
That's why you run sword and you infiltrator strike to immobilize them, and then you lay it right on top.
that might work, but like
Actually, that
I
was
don't
like
know.
the main
When I
focus
play
of my
trap
build.
though, I'm like trying to put things in like a lot of walkways or archways because like there's nowhere else to put them.
That was actually
So
the main focus of
so
my build
lackluster.
before the November change of
Is the
Sword-dagger with my
tripwire one?
days. I used to run tripwire and do lots of combos with that. I even took the trap cooldown to make it 24 seconds. So yeah, like lots of CC, infiltrator strike into tripwire, always hit it. 3 second
Tripwire
knockdown
is
is
pretty
actually
strong.
pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty strong, unblockable too.
I feel like that's the strongest trap there is. Because if you look at the other ones, they're pretty lackluster and everything else. Like Shadow Trap,
I mean,
you can get around
Just
the
yeah.
map
yeah.
pretty fast anyway. You don't need that. Like Needle Trap does nothing in terms of damage. Like that poison is so minuscule. It lasts for 6 seconds. You can get poison longer with a short bow.
I was thinking the other day.
Ambush. Those thieves are
Go on.
pathetic. Because like ambush trap thieves and thieves guild, they die so fast in structure.
In
AoE.
acrobatics, there's the trait Master Trapper, which is the trap recharge. Um, I was thinking the other day, like, why don't they like add something to that, like
That's like the
Signet
ranger.
recharge. They have not only does it reduce the cooldown, but it gives you 2 initiative when you activate a Signet. Why not put something like that, like say traps recharge 20% faster, as well as the AoE turns into like a trap ranger trap, for example,
Where you throw it.
or
Or
the
you're talking
AoE
about
the
the
AoE would
radius. Yeah, okay.
increase
Like
the
I
circle.
think that would be changing the radius with that, or maybe even like throwing traps or doing something similar to like trap rangers where they have all these traits based around traps. They can have a legitimate build based around traps. Where thieves they have one trait that just reduces cooldowns and it doesn't really help them very much.
How are venoms? In and
I
outside
actually
the venom
Actually,
share.
just one thing before we leave
yes.
traps. 'Cause I just feel it's kind of weird the way it's designed. Because as you said, Jumper, you are actually like jumping a guy and then putting the trap on top of him, and that's not really a trap. That's just like
Yeah.
hitting him with some kind of wire or whatever. But it's not a trap. It's not something that you don't trick him. You don't make him go into something by doing something. You just put it on top of him. So
I
yeah,
mean, like I would
just
put
want that point out
traps
there.
in walkways, and people would like dodge roll through the walkway just to like gain some extra speed when they're going
Yeah.
somewhere. They didn't even know the trap was there. I'm sitting here like face palming myself because
So yeah,
I
that was one utility out of the way. So we did an experiment in World vs World, me and a friend, to see how many traps we would actually need to trap someone. So we were in the Borderlands, and we used all the traps we can get. I just think we used 4 traps, the poison one and the knockdown one. So in one hallway, just 4 traps, and once he hit one of them, we could gank him. And 4 traps, that works. So 2 thieves with traps can kill one guy. So GG.
I actually think traps are really funny in Eternal, like the jumping puzzle and the Eternal Battlegrounds.
Yeah, you can use them in jumping puzzle.
Because what I was doing was I'd get a tripwire, and in that dark room I'd put a tripwire there, and then I'd
Yeah.
sit and I'd wait with Scorpion Wire, and he'd come run trap and he'd get knocked down, and I'd kill him off. And I'd be like, yeah.
What about Scorpion Wire? Do you see that in structured PvP?
No, you do not. Just
Why
there's so
not?
many other utilities that do a lot more for you and have lower cooldowns. Scorpion Wire, I used to run that with my Caltrops build
Yeah.
because I'd pull people back into my Caltrops. So it was actually somewhat useful. But with the changes to Caltrops and the ineffectiveness like of the build itself, it's just I don't feel it has a place for the current builds.
I've tried for the longest time to figure out some way to use Scorpion Wire, just because I figured out that Scorpion Wire was from Mortal Kombat, and I never knew that. And I was like,
It's Scorpion's wire, man.
yeah, I didn't get the connection. It was I just didn't see that. Where were we? Okay, Scorpion Wire. How could we make that better? Like, could we change it somehow? Because I always thought like a shorter cooldown or something.
Make it more reliable for hitting people. Like
Yeah.
you can juke that thing by sidestepping really easily. Like
Yeah,
you can just you see it coming and you stop and it'll like shoot in front of you and you won't hit anyone.
It won't actually auto target, will it? Or it won't home for him.
Yeah, it won't
Aim
home.
for him.
So like if it was like trick shot pre-change, I think it could be really good because it's still dodgeable. It's like it's a pretty graphic effect. Like you can see it coming.
Yeah.
And you can block it, you can do a lot of stuff, but like maybe 7 out of 10 times it'll miss by itself without the other player even knowing it came.
I thought that if made it unblockable, like you couldn't clear it with Aegis or whatever, that would do something. What do you think about that?
I still think it misses too much on its own. Like I've tried to use it a lot of times and it just like go off and it'd say obstructed or something and I just like get really frustrated. It's frustrating to use skills and have them fail without the other player even doing anything about it.
Yeah, because for me, right now, the only real purpose it has is pretty much for trolling people. Like in jumping puzzles or whenever they have some kind of high ground, just pull them down and kill them with falling damage. That's
I definitely think trolling people is a good use for it. But
yeah. I mean, that's viable. I mean, we're here to have fun, and it's definitely fun trolling people. So,
I still say like caltrops, it still has some use there because you pull people back into your caltrops. They get that cripple, they get that bleed stack. You can start stacking some more. But caltrops got nerfed as well, so it's hard to say.
what about? I mean, I think it was in the first beta event, or the third, I think. Whatever, some beta event. A guy put out a YouTube video with like a control thief build. It had like the knockdown trap and the scorpion wire. And he would like combine the two, so he would pull it into the trap. Is that viable, or is that just silly?
To me, that's a troll build. You're going back to trolling people because like you're still as a thief innately squishy, and you're not doing much else.
There's like
after
two
those
abilities
utilities.
you're like required to take, right? That's Shadow Refuge and Shadow Step. Not so much Shadow Step as Shadow Step with the new sword build, Sword-dagger.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about those being like somewhat mandatory for the longest time?
I personally love Refuge. Like it's my favorite skill because it just does so much for a thief, and it's like a thief ability. You know, you have this place that stealths you, heals you. It's like nice. It's a little house on top. It's your home. But like Shadow Step, I like that skill too. But I feel like if they change some of the other ones, like Roll for Initiative, if they lowered the cooldown on that, there'd be more options for people to choose what they like to pick and choose instead of just being kind of tunneled into this one stun breaker.
Someone in chat says that Shadow Refuge needs a decreased stealth time. Do you agree?
I think all stuff needs a decreased time. Like 14 seconds for max stealth is just insane.
No, come on. It's not overpowered at all.
Stealth
Please.
cap is just way too long, man. Way too long.
I think it's more of an issue in World v World now that like with the burst changes. Like before it was an issue because you'd have these thieves running around in SPVP with such long stealth timers and they just instigate people and they wouldn't be aware. Now since you can't really instigate people after the mug change, it's more of you kind of just running around doing nothing. Like you still have that surprise effect, but you can't instantly take someone out of a fight.
Okay. So yeah, Shadow Refuge and Shadow Step, are those also in structured PvP? Like, do you always need to take those as well? Because I've seen I've seen a little bit of Twitch lately, and I know in your current build, Jumper, you don't use at least Shadow Step and Shadow Refuge. Oh, I know in like your last Twitch you used Shadow Refuge, but don't you usually use Roll for Initiative or
I
something
started
like
out
that?
using roll for initiative because I thought the build would be a lot more initiative heavy. And in some cases where I need to like clear a lot of combis or I get CC'd a lot, so I have to stun break a lot, I I do have to use the roll for initiative, or I could use the action initiative. But if I just like play smart and not spam as much, spam 3, then I should have very little issue with initiative. Um, I don't really need to stun break like at all with the Sword 2 ability, so don't really need to run Shadow Step. So that opens up like so many options. Like how I'm running Signet of Agility, which actually Signet of Agility is a really strong team support utility. Um, Not only does it give you 8% increased precision, but it refills not only your endurance, it clears uh, a condition as well, but it refills the endurance and cures a condition for every ally in a 600 radius. Like if you give that to a guardian, like say my guardian, the guardian on my team, or an Ellie on my team, they're like out of initiative or endurance, sorry, um, I can pop Signet of Agility and refill their endurance, and they could like dodge twice and heal for half their health and heal everyone in the process while doing that. So Signet of Agility is like really strong, really overlooked because of the how thieves have been always pigeonholed into taking Shadow Step and Shadow Refuge.
Yeah, I will honestly say that I overlooked that myself because like before I thought it was somewhat useless, and I still think like as a burst build it is pretty useless. But with the Sword-dagger and into acrobatics, it has such a strong synergy with the build. You what is that called? Feline Grace. You get endurance back when you roll, and like you pretty much double. You have 6 rolls with that alone, with Feline Grace and Signet of Agility, and then you're running double endurance or double energy on your weapon set. You get endurance back. You just the amount of rolls you have on this build is insane with the Signet.
Okay, so a guy in chat is like, why do the thief class feel that they're doing nothing unless they are instigating people? Sorry, that was a bit of Danish coming up. Sorry. Why do we feel that we're doing nothing unless we pretty much instant give people? That seems to be a general mentality. You running in World versus World with 12k HP and instant giving people.
I
Is,
think
is that
that's
is that a
more of
thing?
a. I think that's more just me having fun. I like to see big numbers. But for SPVP, like if you're running around, say with a perma stealth build, you're not doing anything. You're in stealth. You're kind of just waiting there for your health. Like it's you have a timer. You have something to accomplish, and when you're running into this situation compared to World v World, you don't have the time to waste and sit in stealth and wait for regen.
Okay, so there's a question about the weakness buff. It says I'm not entirely sure what he means about it. He says, do you think the weakness buff when aimed will make weakness affect crit builds, make dagger pistol better than sword dagger?
Um,
They're interested in Jumper's answer specifically.
Um, I don't think it would affect it too much. I think I'd have to be a lot more aware of the weakness that's applied to me and make sure to clear that and pop my Lissa or Shadow Return. Make sure to get that weakness off. Because right now it's basically just something you can completely ignore right now. So. Um, Actually, the sword, the sword auto attack, I believe. Hold on, let me check.
Yeah,
I
plus
think the
weakness.
number 3, yeah, the last hit in the chain applies weakness. So I think it would actually kind of be a buff if you can land that final hit in the chain. So it would actually be kind of a buff for the build, I think.
Um, my opinion on that is it's situational based on your team comp and what your team needs. Because if you're running a team with a lot of damage already, like say you already have a Necro on your team, you don't want two squishy targets that you have to watch after, you have to take care of. For like if you have a Necro on your team, Sword-dagger seems to be a better build because it lets your team peel for one person instead of two, and you're less of a liability. So I think it depends on your team comp now, and I think it'll still stay the same once they change it.
Okay, so a friend has a fun structured PvP question for me that I hope you can answer. I was talking about the troll build before with using scorpion wire and that knockdown trap. He says, what if you're combining it with like a 100 blades warrior with doing extra damage on stun? Is that a good team combination, or is that
I
just...
think one of the builds you don't see anymore is Venom Share, and I think that's like Venom Share with the warrior is so strong, and if people start pulling that off and that coordination, it would be stronger than the troll scorpion wire, because you'd have a warrior running around with Devour, Venom, and Bassi. You have like 2 second stun, 5 second mob, and you have that with them. You can set up a lot more with like sword pistol and Venom Share build than you could with traps.
The Venom share build is also completely... it sucks too, right?
Um, My
What?
opinion is that it's actually really strong. Like I
Okay.
think Venom Share is really strong. I just don't think that Warriors. My opinion is Warriors are the strongest with it, and I don't think people really are trying too much with that. And
Can you
it's
say that
really,
one more time? Jumbo's chair was was getting in.
I don't think people are trying very much with Warriors and with Venom Share because it's really like a heavy coordination spec. Like you have to be really team coordinated, and you have no 1v1ing potential on a Venom Share build. You have to stay with your team all the time and support them.
What about the weapon set for the Venom Share? Like, what
Um,
synergizes well with it? Like, what can you run and why?
you could probably get away with Sword-dagger, but I think Sword Pistol's the strongest just because you have so much control, you have so much support, you have a daze, a blind, you have a mobs and a stun.
Right.
You can sit there and keep people locked up for your team. And for mobility, you could probably, now that you can port everywhere with Sword 2, people figure this out. It'd be Jumper right there. You could probably get away with running maybe a Sword-dagger and a Sword Pistol and just port around with Sword 2. Or you could go with a short bow. But I'm not sure, I haven't tried running with double swords. It might be
So would
stronger.
you like be running DPS or like would you be
You'd
running
run
soldier for the toughness so you don't kill yourself to retail in one hit?
I think that generally, like, it depends on if you're warrior and your team. Like, I think it's best with the warrior, so I keep saying that. But if you manage to get kills while you're holding a soldier's amulet, it's a lot stronger because you won't go down. You can keep supporting your team. If you're running a Zerker amulet, there's almost no way you're not just gonna die to Condis or AoE cleave or something. Like, it's really hard. So the build takes a lot of skill and in terms of positioning in the first place. That if you want an easier time, you could run a soldier's amulet, but your team would be more reliant on themselves than on you helping them.
A guy in chat is commenting is made a comment where he says that Venom share is in the wrong trade line. What do you feel about that? Do you want it in another trade line?
Venom Share is in Akka, right?
I
No. Which
think
one?
Venom share is in
It's
Shadow.
in, oh yeah, it's in Shadow Arts.
Shadow Arts,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm spacing here.
It's okay.
So like, generally the Venom Share is 30-0, 30-0, 10. And you take Thrill for team support, and you take... I could agree with him. Like, it would make more sense in something like Acrobatics.
The stats are nice.
Here.
Toughness and healing.
Well, I mean, like, it would make sense in something like health or toughness and healing. Like, it's hard to say because Deadly Arts, I don't think, is the right fit. but that's like the poison tree. That's where a lot of the poison traits are, but that's also where a lot of the burst traits are. So it's confusing. I'd agree with that. It's counterintuitive.
Do you think we'll see any changes with the aging patch, with the all the trait rebalancing they mentioned?
I have no idea what they're doing, so I can't honestly say on that. We'd have to wait and find out.
Do we have
Unless
any?
they give us hints.
Do we have any hints what's coming up in the next patch? Because I haven't heard anything at all.
I heard necros are getting burning, and that's about it.
What? Okay, more to watch out for. Okay, that's going to be a pain, but you'll have to
run away from necros.
What about having like a dedicated support thief? Could that be something?
Yeah, it probably would be venom share.
That would be like support. Venom share and jumping on people with traps, or
venom share and sword pistol, because you're sitting there, you have dazed, the blinds.
Oh right, that's
yeah, it's a lot of weapon set skills for setting up kills for your team, keeping people locked down.
Could it be viable, or because I haven't seen it? Okay, to be honest, I don't play structured PvP, so that's the main reason I haven't seen it. But I haven't seen any dedicated support thieves. Why is it not there?
The role is generally filled a lot better by other classes. And
what kind of?
Yeah, Ellie's, Guardians, like these classes that have a lot of team boons, team clears for conditions, like they have those on top of the mobs, the CC, and it's just a lot more beneficial to have on your team. The thief excels at other things better.
Hey man, pre-November, my support Sword-dagger Days Thief was pretty nice.
It did a good job of taking care of glass cannon thieves, because they just sit there, they'd be dazed the whole time. Unless they dodge roll the days.
Tactical strike is really strong, especially against other thieves.
It's pretty devastating, because sword auto attack hurts.
Do we want that back? The days bolt.
I would love to see more build variety, like especially.
I think build variety is a good thing, and I don't think that the build is overpowered in the first place, because if you like a thief stealth, they have 30 seconds. You know, you dodge. You can know when the tactical strike's coming, so it's not that hard to counter.
I forgot my question.
Also, the cloak and dagger. All you need to do is dodge cloak and dagger, and you know that's like coming right as the days is ending. So like it's gonna be so telegraphed. But yeah, I have no clue why they hit the days build so hard. But I would also, really very much like to see it come back.
Also with just like normal players, at least when I play them, you can always guess when the cloak and dagger is coming. That's as they run towards you. So that's pretty much just press dodge. Man.
One of my favorite things is playing Sword-dagger. You know, like. It's one of the counters is blinding. Like blinds hurt that build a lot, because you miss most of your skills. You have slow timers. So a dagger pistol build, you know, it's really strong against Sword-dagger. But people throw down that blinding field and they Heartseeker out of it for stealth when it ends. And they're gonna Heartseeker at you, so you just sit there outside of the blind field, wait, and you can get a cloak and dagger every single time and just daze them. It's pretty strong.
Oh, that's good. I know that in World vs. World, the dagger pistol is considered to be the strongest build right now, because you have permanent invisibility, permanent stealth. And I whined a lot about it in our last podcast, that I found it to be my nemesis, because I don't like running it. I think it's kind of boring. But for the people who have been flaming me about that, I have found the counter. We can get traps now in World vs. World that will give us, that if they run into it, 30-second reveal. So, sorry for language, but fuck you, dagger pistol thieves. Eat my 30-second reveal.
I think that's more to do with the traits that you find boring. I think dagger pistol burst is really fun, just because using more than just black powder in 3. You shot a shot.
Yeah,
I think
they
Cade's
use
talking
it.
more about the 2530 0015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of like say the standard 10-30-30 for a perma stealth build.
Yeah.
Do you think Shadow Arts is OP in WW, or what do you think about that?
I think it's really strong. I'm not sure about OP because generally, like, if someone stealths, you can still do a fair amount of stuff with it. You know, like you have AoEs, you can cleave, or you can just run away. You can always run away.
It's fun how they never just try to run away. It's like, no, they're just whining that we kill them. Just run, damn it.
See, like, that's the thing about me playing a thief. I've learned to run away really well.
Okay, to be honest, we do have a lot of mobility in World vs. World, like between Shadow Step and Infiltrator Strike and Shadow Signet and whatever. We have and the Shortbow 5 ability. There's a lot of movement in that, and the only ones who could get away really was the Dagger or Scepter Dagger Elementalists, and now they nerfed them. So I feel that warriors can sometimes get away when they have a lot of swiftness and a great sword, because that's a lot of mobility as well. So we can catch up with pretty much anyone.
Oh man, I love WWing on my warrior. With those 15k kill shots, I had one-shot thieves, and then I have so much mobility, especially going underwater. They have the underwater spinning move, which moves them forward so far.
My thief underwater is probably my favorite thing ever, because I have unlimited evades underwater. I feel like Poseidon, King of the Sea, because you spam 5 all the time. You run with roll for initiative, you run with withdraw, and you can run double spear if you wanted to and get endurance.
Yeah, that's what I do with my Sword-dagger build, actually.
Okay, we don't really have that much time left, so let's now you entered it. You entered the underwater section. Let's talk about some underwater.
I think underwater is OP. Underwater thief is OP.
Are we OP?
Yeah,
really?
I think we're overpowered. I have 1v10 underwater in World v World.
Really?
Yeah.
How do we do that? I want to know.
Just spam 5. Spam spear 5, man.
I'm known to be like a cat. That's just every time I see you underwater, I just like start whining and try to leave that place so I can get off.
I just really hate how there's inconsistencies.
I go underwater.
Oh wait, one at a time. Caed first. What's your comment?
I said if I'm being chased by a Zerg, I go underwater. It's my refuge. Like there's a giant house over that lake.
And that's just by spamming 5. Or...
You spam 5, you have withdraw, you have roll for initiative. You can cover half that lake.
Okay, that's maybe why, because I don't use those. I just use like Shadow Signet and Shadow. You can use those underwater. No mind, I'm just rambling.
No, you can use Shadow Signet. I use Shadow Signet, I use Infiltrator Signet, and I use roll for initiative. So I get that extra initiative. I get the just perma evades is what it is. And you just spam 5. And you seal the people and you info the people.
I find it kind of unfair that the Spear 5 is perma evade, literally. Like the only move in the game, I believe, for full evasion during the duration is the Shortbow 3, I believe.
Yeah.
Like if you spam that back to back, there's literally no window of opportunity to hit the thief. Which is pretty okay. Like, but underwater with the Spear 5, it's just ridiculous. You can spam that forever and deal massive damage. But also, like, I don't like how there's certain professions where they can hit you while evading underwater. There's actually like this mesmer bubble or something.
It's okay. So sinks go through evades, sinks and rises. So what you do is you save your roll for initiative and you save your info, like your stun breaks. You save them for your sinks, and that generally will keep you alive. If you have 10 people with sinks, you're screwed. You're gonna die.
But I think I found my problem then, because I'm running with the spear gun. And what's your feeling? What's your feeling towards the spear gun?
I try to avoid spear guns. Spear guns
It's
are
basically
actually
the pistol of
Yeah, it's
underwater.
basically the pistol of underwater. Because you only spam like one ability.
It actually hits.
I use
It hits
spear
harder, I
guns for
think.
killing down. Yeah, it does. I use spear guns for hitting down bodies because it just keeps them down really
It
easily,
hits
and
harder
it kills them.
than unload does on the pistol set, I think.
And has mobility as well. So they fixed the mobility issues. Like the
Oh yeah,
Spirit on
there's a
5.
shadow step
Yeah.
on that set.
Yeah, that's a shadow step on it.
Yeah.
It's really slow, but that's a shadow step on
Yeah,
it.
if you roll away with roll for initiative and you turn around and you start spamming 5 on your spear gun, you're good. You will get away from everyone. Like roll for initiative, withdraw, and you turn around and spear gun 5, you're out of their visible LOS range and they can't even see you.
Okay, so we have not a lot of time left. So do we have like any shoutouts you want to make or something like that? Because we have like 100 viewers right now. Yes, that's awesome.
Say shout outs to SOAC, shout outs to my team, and anyone who wants to be a thief. I like you. They're awesome.
That's a lot of shoutouts actually.
Yeah.
That's
Everyone.
everyone, all of them. Shout out to everyone. Okay, where can we follow you? Like, do you have a Twitch or?
I have a Twitch. It's /NARCARSIS. I made that up when I was a kid. Don't ask. And I have a Twitter. I think. Let me find out what the tag is here. It's at GW2 Caed. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's also that.
Okay. Let's see. Is there any last questions from the audience?
There's a request for either myself or Caed to stream Dagger Pistol. Honestly, like I'm sick of Dagger Pistol. I haven't run it ever since the Sword-dagger changes. So,
Wait a minute. You're the one who says that it was an awesome kit where you had to use like all of the abilities and that. And now you're saying you don't like it.
It's a playstyle preference.
It's a totally different play style, but the kit itself is like a perfect example of how every thief kit should be aimed at to resemble.
And that was actually a point I wanted to make, but we don't have a lot of time. Let's have that as the last thing. Then sorry for my English. There's a general notion that in each kit you only use like 2 or 3 abilities. Like in the dagger, you'll see all the noob thieves just spamming 2 after they've done their backstab. Is that like a design flaw?
Hey man,
like,
we're lucky
I
that Condi thieves aren't viable right now because Dagger Condi thieves, you would see so many complaint posts on the forums about Death Blossom.
Rainbow Death Blossom.
Spam 3 more, noob.
There's already, I see some of those popping up about Sword-dagger. Like, I've gotten so much crap for switching to Sword-dagger in the past 2 days that it's unbelievable to me. Like, people I haven't even heard of are just like coming up to me telling me they're disappointed in me, and I'm like, what? Do I even know you?
Like if you're trying to impress them in the first place.
I'm getting hate mail now. It's like, whoa, man, like, calm down. I still play like Dagger Pistol in World v World. It's still my favorite weapon set. It's just what works for my team right now is Sword-dagger. It's stronger for my team and it's more efficient.
Okay. We talked about in the last podcast about the Sword-dagger that the third ability right now does a lot of damage. And I know in World vs World I crit for the combined ability, like the Lasso Strike and the Flanking Strike, that's 10k when I crit both of them. And that's really the strongest ability on that weapon, kit right now. Do you feel like they need to balance it out so they make all the other abilities more viable? Or
So my opinion is twofold on that. Like, of course, I think they need to balance it out. Like, all weapon skills and like weapon sets should be balanced across 5 abilities. But at the same time, both of those are extremely easy to dodge. Like, Jumper would be the first one to tell you. I've dueled people in World v World. Like, I've dueled DCs with Sword-dagger builds, and I don't have issues with them because I can blind everyone. I can dodge them. I can counter it pretty easily. So there's a lot of counterplay there that you can get off, and Larcenous Strike is so slow. Like it takes almost a second to get off, and Flanking Strike you can see coming from a mile away.
Oh,
They're spinning. They're spinning. Roll.
I can see the thief fate now. You complaining about an ability that's slow, and you say 1 second, and all the Necros will. We have challenged the capabilities.
Okay.
Fuck you, thieves. Sorry for language. Okay, so I think we need to close this off. Running out of time. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. I'm Marcus Valadier. You can follow me on YouTube. Just search Marcus Valadier in the search panel and you'll be fine. It should be there. It's spelled Valadir, so it should be good. And Jumper, where can we follow you?
My Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/LOLjumper.
Okay. So thanks everyone for watching us, and this has been the Revealed podcast, and next week we will have Yishius online, I'm told, the World vs. World thief who have been doing the Zerg slaying videos on YouTube, if anyone has seen him. At least he's telling me that he will be online, so I hope so. It would be awesome. So yeah, thanks, and this was of course sittingonacouch.com, and we'd like to get you to come and join us next week. And it's same place, same time next week, right? I think it is. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thanks.